Yeah, I don't know. I just know that we look good, and if we play the way we should be the top 2 teams going out the group.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 1 2025 for Media Day, of course. My guest at this time is none other than Immi, the head coach of Cloud9, coming off of their appearance in Kickoff, looking to bounce back and then some for this station. So Immi, gotta give you my thanks for another chance for another conversation. This time before the start of Stage 1. I'm sure you already know how I do things regarding my opening question. So, how are you doing?
Uh, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Team's doing good. Life's good. Everything's heading in the right direction right now. I have no complaints.
I mean, of course, like it's been a pretty obviously a pretty up and down year for this Cloud9 squad. So, though we're still at the very early part of the season, nevertheless, a lot of things have happened for you guys at the very least, and obviously this ended up or ultimately culminated in a early playoff exit for you guys. All things considered, pretty understandable for how where this team was at the very early part of the year, given the changes to the squad at the very end of the off season. So, I mean, I want to ask you sort of kick off your quick reflections on that. I mean, looking at how your schedule went, you had to go up against three very tough foes in MIBRG2 and NRG. And so, nevertheless, though, how do you kind of look back on the team's performance and just sort of having to navigate that kind of schedule right at the outset?
I mean, I think we were good. Like I've seen a lot of people ranking us like really far down. I think Platch had little ranking and we were like 30th out of everyone. I'm like, okay. But I think we did well. Like we beat NRG, who was supposed to be top 3, 4. Um, we lost to G2, where we lost like I think it was 16 post plants, which then we fixed for the next game. But we had other issues, obviously. And then against MLBR, I feel like we forgot a lot of things on the third map. Maybe the being under the lights got to us, the nerves, you know. Um, but again, MLBR, they finished third, fourth. So I think all in all, it wasn't as bad as people make out, but especially in the short time we had. And now we've just continued to grow in the little off bit. We didn't really take a break at all. We just made our schedule a little bit lighter, but we still worked just as hard.
I mean, all things considered, losing to ultimately the third and first teams in kickoff. I mean, not a bad thing to look at the very end of the day. And yeah, like you kind of mentioned it right there, the adjustments during the break. I mean, you kind of mentioned it right there, just sort of tweaking a little bit in the sense that you guys, it doesn't like you don't have to like overwhelm yourselves in too much work. And so, with that in mind, though, how have you kind of been tweaking the post kickoff slash stage break, from end of kickoff to now?
So like, what's our schedule been?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sort of
Yeah.
like how like you can looking at the adjustments within that time frame.
Um, we focused on one map a day, and we really because 2 maps are being taken out, right? And we didn't know the changes. So for the first like 2 weeks, we just did the 5 maps, and we did 5 days a week, and we did one map a day, and we really tried to fix those maps to the best we can. And we had weekends off, which made the schedule not so overwhelming. And then obviously one big issue was the MIBR third map. So we needed to come up with, and this has happened in previous teams, right? We're great in scrims. We're improving. We're doing well. We get onto the stage and we forget some things, or the nerves get us. I don't know. Like things happen. So we were like, okay, how do we fix this? And it's near enough impossible to replicate stage environment to be in the comfort of the scrim room. But we had some performance days, and we've done some work. Like now, my assistant coach is here, so when I go away for an interview, that means I can still give a plan to the players through my assistant, rather than me getting dragged away and then no one's there to like remind them of the next map, what we're doing, how's like we don't get much time. But now with having an assistant, I get double the time basically because I will already tell him, or we would have already discussed what we're going to tell them when I get dragged away for the interview.
Yeah, obviously, it's like, that's a much better way to deal with it because, like, I understand, like, it's much more better to have, your assistants or somebody else you're working with, be there by your side instead of just having to, like, go through the usual text or voice call because, like, the feeling's not the same and you don't get a sense of just sort of, like, what the other person's thinking, through a screen. So, yeah, definitely understandable on that front. I mean, you kind of mentioned about tweaking the maps and improving the maps. I mean, with the inclusion or more so the re-entering of Ascent and Icebox, I want to ask you a little bit more about, those two new maps returning to the map pool, particularly in Ascent though, because like, if my memory serves correctly, Ascent has never really been a good map for you guys, going back into last year. And so,
Mm.
like, how are you kind of looking at the return of that map and how you kind of been working around or more so tweaking it, to at the very least be at a very, very better level compared to last year?
Um, I don't think it was ever a bad map for us, especially in scrims. I guess in matches it didn't translate. We definitely had some horrible matches. But I think that was down to our game style back then. We weren't as structured. We didn't have as much discipline. We would get punished really easily. And then I think also the last time we played Ascent was actually at the Red Bull qualifier versus Moist, where it was their best map, MXS. And we had Mitch then, and Mitch I jailed it, and we stomped them like 13-3, I think. So it's good, and I like the change. I like the change of the wall. I've been saying for over a year, just make the B wall not spammable. That's all they need to do, and I think it's a really good change. And I think it has changed the way the map is played quite a bit.
I mean, you can kind of talk a little bit about Icebox as well, but the other main topic that I want to transition to now is Waylay, with the agent now getting into the map pool. I mean, at this point, we already know how it goes with this game. We're literally preparing for like a long time for an event to start, and then Riot just sort of just hops in and say, "Oh, don't forget about these three things that you gotta like add into the mix," and we're doing it like literally a few weeks before the actual competition itself. So I mean, yeah, we already know. So Waylay, I mean, I remember this conversation we had about Tejo, and so it's kind of like the same kind of aspect, looking at a new agent. So kind of, what are your thoughts on the agent? Do you feel like it's good to be, given some kind of priority in the upcoming metaphor, this upcoming stage?
I think it's okay. I think it's playable on some maps. I don't think it's a direct replacement for the likes of Jet, like some people have said. I don't see it. Um, it's definitely not as overwhelming as Teo was. It was night and day. Teo was like, you need to play him. If you're not playing him, you're basically trolling. And that's why you've seen the two best Teo teams make it to Bangkok. But Waylay doesn't seem as overwhelming. It doesn't seem like she's a must on every single map. She's got some things that need to be improved about her for her to get to that stage. But there's definitely potential for it to be played somewhere.
And now quickly moving over to the kickoff, or I was going to say stage one schedule in which you guys are going to be placing. I would say, at the very least, a pretty tough group. Going up against the likes of MIBRG2, Furia, basically the same kind of teams that you guys faced in kickoff. I mean, pretty tough luck for your hand, but nevertheless, such is the way you guys gotta go through. Your thoughts on the road ahead, the group ahead, and which team do you kind of have circled in your calendar that you kind of want to take on?
I mean, the NRG and Lev, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I think, yeah, I mean, we basically got the same teams as we got in kickoff, which is not great, but also I don't want a repeat of last year where the groups get all swapped and you have to play everyone. Like, this is how it should be. There's a seed in and the groups get drawn and then you play. So I think this is the best way for it to be. And I think everyone in Americas right now is good, apart from maybe like 2 teams where you just know they're not gonna get more than 1 win. Um, but I think everyone is good. I think everyone can beat each other, and it's hard to tell until we get on stage and really see these teams, because obviously we don't scrim against the teams in our group. We did scrim against Lev a little bit as they were trying out Rossy. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that we look good, and if we play the way we should be the top 2 teams going out the group.
One more question that I want to ask you before I wrap this up, because the voices in my head are telling me to wrap up. Kind of mentioned it right there, Leviatan. I gotta ask you the obligatory. What are your thoughts on Rossy getting into Leviatan? Where does he kind of fit? And also, like, yeah, this sort of. Do you also like have Leviatan that matchup high up in your matches that you want to play?
I just think it's gonna be a fun match. I don't really care about Rossy, or well, I'm happy he got a team, but he's not my concern anymore. My concern's my team, my life, their lives. That's all that matters. Like, nothing else really matters to me other than that. And this year, so I am looking forward to playing them. I think it'll be a hyped match. I think the fans will be good. I think if we win, there'll be a lot said on social media. If we lose, there's going to be a lot said on social media. I find a lot of that fun when it's not too aggressive from the fans.
Very humble and conservative answer, and definitely one that is very textbook from yourself, and definitely understandable from yourself. So, Immi, gotta give you my thanks for doing this interview. Really do appreciate it. And of course, as you already know, also best of luck goes to yourself for stage one.
Thank you, bro. Look
Thank
after
you so much.
yourself.
Thank you so much, man.